as a human race. However, in terms of where our minds are at and the progress we are making with our technology, and I think we are more emotionally aware. I don't believe the hype, social media and all that shit, to just love to talk about rubbish. I think we as a human race, we're fed up with government, we're fed up with politics, we're fed up with poverty, racism, all this bullshit. We've just had enough of it.
Yeah.
And I think we actually want to engage with each other and get to know each other and build each other and all this kind of stuff. And we're still light years, we're still probably another 200-300 years away from the finished product in terms of that.
Yeah.
But the information age has allowed a lot of us to be educated and informed. And I mean, I saw that stuff in George Floyd, just like you guys saw it, and it got us all talking.
Yeah.
And there's real life conversations right now about toxic masculinity. There's real life conversations now about, I don't know, even the boy crisis, because men are going through some shit as well. Like, I don't know. I've never met any of you physically, and we're having this conversation. I grew up in Nigeria. I came to London when I was 20. Like, my background couldn't be further different from any of yours, but we can relate, communicate, understand each other. Like, it's beautiful. And I like that part of who we are as a human race in terms of the journey and just moving along.
Yeah.
So from a, I don't know, global perspective, that's dope. And then I'll shut up and let someone else talk, and then I can talk about personal perspective.
You know what though, Koye, that's for me, like the thought process I've been going through today in regards to this conversation is like very much about that. It's like there's so much happening around us, like collectively, we're all interacting, passing each other, all kind of either working together, socializing together, or we're having meetings and groups, and there's different jobs, people are coming and going. We're like busy worker bees or ants, aren't we, everywhere? But there's so much in the world, isn't there? Whether it's personal thing or you know, a community thing, a global thing. There's a lot of information and a lot of things happening scarily fast, and it's hard to keep up. And even some of the positive things, if you take social media into consideration, because you mentioned that, I think it's a really difficult community to navigate social media, not just because there's so many platforms and there's so many different ways they all work, but it's the content for me. And yes, we've got this freedom to like air stuff wherever we want, and people, you put your hashtags in, people see it, they join in, they follow you, they share stuff. But you know, a lot of these important things that we're seeing that are being highlighted, I think, you know, it's getting quite complicated and hard to follow in some way, because like it's good stuff, like you mentioned before, like, you know, other people online now, even women, are sharing stuff about toxic masculinity amongst men and stuff, and you see it on TikTok and things like that. But a lot of it's done in this kind of very showy way, where it's all about the graphics and the voiceovers and how things are delivered, and you know, it does grab attention, but I also think it can take away from some of the important things that are going on, because it's like,
have you seen the Manosphere?
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the Manosphere?
What's that? Explain what that is.
Oh, so the Manosphere is a community of men who are basically equivalent of the Men Are Trash movement. So there's a community of men that they don't believe in marriage anymore. Like, what's the point? I get married. It's not our money. Our money is your money is yours. My money is ours. If we get divorced, I lose the kids. I lose the house.
Yeah.
You're not actually making me happy. You're not a traditional woman. Blah blah blah. So there's this. Have you guys ever Kevin Samuels, for instance?
No.
Jesus Christ. He literally did something yesterday or like last week, and he said, women are set in a weird paradigm, and that if you go out with me after 7 p.m., then basically know that your pussy's on the table. Those were his words. Those were his freaking words. And I saw it and I was like, this guy has over 1 million followers. So that must mean there's a bunch of you that actually think that way. Are you crazy? And there's that movement that don't, like, they exactly, and realistically, if you turn on your social media to things that you see that, then that's what you see. But
yeah,
I'm come to a place where I try and, well, you're there, Eddie. I love seeing Chase's videos. Like, I follow your positive news. So I might get the odd one of those shit, but because I take in decent information, it's like, I can see that I'm like, this guy's an arsehole. just
yeah.
Whereas some people might not actually know that he's an arsehole. Like, that's all they they're only getting that far right narrative, or they're getting the far left. And I like us here because we're in the middle, and I believe there's way more of us in the middle than there is of either of the extremes.
Yeah. So just before anybody else speaks, just really quickly. So on the back of that, you know, with the theme of tonight in mind, and like I say, it's open. It's, you know, we can go off and then come back, but like that, like, of course it's shocking. Of course that's not what we want to hear. Like, you know, something needs to change in those kind of realms of social media or whatever. But like, you know, that kind of just gets me thinking more about, like, what is change, what is progress, what are we picking up, what are we putting down, like, and who gets to decide that, and is everybody going to agree with it? And, you know, what somebody else is doing, how much should it bother us, and should we fight that, or should we just carry on with what we're doing and try and stay positive and try and build what we're building? Because that's, you know, my head's been going around about that stuff for weeks now, and there's so much out there that's just really confusing for people. And it's like, come on, who's speaking truth here? Who's actually doing the good work, you know? Because there are a lot of people saying the right things, looking the right way, but it's not all real, is it? And it's really complicated, and it misleads people. But anyway, that's just on the back of Koye, what I wanted to get out, because my brain's so busy today. It's like full chock-a-block. Jace, did you want to say something? Jason?
I there was a few things that, like, sort of ran through my head about how I felt about the last year, because I've changed a great deal, you know, and particularly for, like, the people that I like to keep around me. My circle has got a lot smaller, but in some ways it's got bigger in that it's networked across oceans, across, you know, this sort of networking, and it's got a lot more depth to it. And that's helped me kind of form into the person I wanted to be, as opposed to the person who was pleasing everyone. So I find myself saying things quite very honestly, and that's shown through my social media. And, you know, when I'm not being silly, there's also, you know, a more, you know, vulnerable side of me that just tries to talk about important things as well. And I think that's what's helped me kind of show an all-round person. But I can't help but feel that's happening simultaneously in context to everyone's lives because of the pandemic. I think if you were somebody necessarily on a more abusive path, and you didn't have that opportunity to reach out like we have and nurture that you may have gotten worse because of the effects of last year. Alternatively, on the other side, there's people that have reached out and gotten help, or are doing even better than they were before, because there's something about this time that squeezed us into being active, into opening up about things. So it's a very interesting time. I think we're living in times where absolutely anything could happen, good or bad. We could wake up tomorrow and something is just completely fixed, and we're just like, okay, that sounded impossible 10 years ago, but we seem to be on that now. We all agree that this is bullshit and we're going to do something about it. But in other cases, I think there are areas of the world that are getting worse because nobody fucking helped them at all during last year at all. So it's it's interesting. It's interesting, but I can't help but feel that I've changed and the world has changed very dramatically, but in such a small space of time in terms of humor.
That's the thing, isn't it? Because all that drama, with the pandemic and stuff, it did grab attention. Obviously, it was worrying. People panicked. People almost like lost their minds. You know, like just stuff that we did as a collective worldwide. But it brought opportunities, like you said, and it brought also really difficult challenges and decisions that had to be made. And it's a hard time to navigate when there's nothing in place for that previously, or you're not even aware of stuff that is available, and you don't know who to talk to. And if you have got a small circle of friends, how many of them know how to navigate that as well? And you know, are you connected with the right people? So in light of what we were saying at the start, this picking up and putting stuff down, what, you know, like that's what we were challenged with this last couple of years, from what I can see. And some people have done the right thing that they need to do for themselves and for others, and they're making things work. And in other ways, people have kind of reverted back now, you know, since 2020, and gone back to the old ways, 2019 previous, you know, and it's like, did we learn anything? What did we learn, you know? I think
to say in the back of that is like, if somebody didn't learn anything, well, maybe they learned something, but they weren't aware, conscious of it. I think it necessarily just made them more fearless. And that's what I kind of see just being in London. And, you know, there's always been a certain attitude. There's always a certain brashness to being in a city. But I feel like some people do not give a single fuck anymore. You know, they just do not care. And I think that's what being a prisoner essentially in society has done to people. You know, it's for me, I want to break out and I want to help people and I want to have fun and everything. But for some people, they feel like the media and the government has literally held them prisoner, and they just they simply do not care.
Just like,
that's a really good point.
Yeah, it's hard to judge people though. Do you know what I mean? Like, because if that's how you feel, if that's what you believe is your absolute truth as to what somebody has done to you under some control, you are going to be a bit bullshit and a bit, you know, to make your stand in life. Where I don't feel like I need to do that. I don't feel like I'm lucky enough that I've nurtured that part of myself, that I don't need to answer to anybody. I don't need to explain me, because my personal journey has been to treat myself better, you know, in here more than anyone. So I don't really care.
So can I ask the question?
I think that's the starting point we all kind of need to invest in, isn't it? Like your own mental state, your own perspective on everything. You know, it's like start there, and then other things will happen, or other people will see that, and that's how we inspire and move forward, isn't it? But yeah, Koye?
No, I wanted to ask what triggered the change for you, Chase? Because you mentioned you changed a lot. Like what triggered that? What was that penny drop moment where you're just like, hold on, I don't like this. I'm gonna change it.
I've been on this journey a little while, like with the mental health thing. So there was a bit of prep happening, which I didn't obviously anticipate the pandemic would, you know, give me a whack around the head. Because I lost a friend to suicide before the pandemic, and that that pushed me into the mental health for my own, you know, for my own preservation as well. But because I knew that doing this was about connecting with people, and if you're connected, then you're not in harm's way, because people they got your back and they'll rise you up. If you're disconnected, then well, what's the point? I'm on my own.
Isolated.
That's right. So I wanted that, and then I realized during the pandemic that I wasn't of use to anyone unless I fully loved myself. And that was a very disgusting notion for me, to love yourself, which now sounds ridiculous because I understand the importance of it. But I think that's something a lot of us go through more than others, is that you don't think about yourself, you think about everyone else. And if you can make this situation outside of you better, then your situation will be better. And that was my absolute curse. But I don't know what it was about the pandemic that made me see that, but it was the most hardest thing to stop looking at everywhere else and actually look at myself. And I think maybe it's because I had nowhere to run. I was here 24 hours a day, couldn't go anywhere, like all of us. And if you look in the mirror and you don't like something, well, you got to deal with it because you're here, you ain't going nowhere else. So
yeah,
I understood, and it was this type of thing. It was a bit like meeting you guys as well that that contributed towards that, because you were using the same language, you know, about self-love and looking in. So yeah, I think if that answered your question, I think it was a combination of things.
Yeah,
What's going on globally, knowing that we're all going through something similar, and and then me kind of facing my biggest fear was to kind of like stop hating myself, which is actually a lot easier than I thought. But it just
Wait, did you? Oh, I'm so sorry. Did you actually hate yourself, or was it more you were doing things to like self-sabotage yourself? So when you say hate yourself, like, did you genuinely hate yourself?
I don't know. Maybe that's too strong to say that I hated myself.
Okay.
It was more that I just didn't love myself. I didn't put myself first as such, you know. And that wasn't very obvious, you know. And I don't think it is for a lot of people. You just like, oh, I don't hate myself. I'm all right, you know. I'm a nice person. I do good things.
I understand. Yeah, I can relate. How do you balance it now? You don't feel like how do you balance not being selfish now? Because there's still that part of me that's empathetic, that still very much feels like the best way to love is by serving people, and if I serve other people, then they will serve me, and therefore I'm good. But coming into self-love and therapy and all that kind of stuff, you learn that you have to build yourself first, and that's the only way that you can actually help other people. But there's still a very strong part of me that believes, like, am I being selfish? Like, I should give this last part of me because this person needs it more than I do. And I'm a Christian as well, and I believe that that's how God wants us to love. So how do you balance it now?
I think it's knowing that as long as I realize that why I'm doing something. So if I like, let's say for instance, I post something online, I don't do it necessarily to help people. I try to think of that if I think of it differently, like I'm living my life and I'm doing it, and it's me posting that is my own self-love, because I look at it and I enjoy it, and I know that others will enjoy it, and I'll get from that. If I think of it like that, then that will keep feeding itself, and I can keep check. If I believe that I'm helping people, it's like I'm strangling the situation, because I will never fill that hole. I'll never fill that hole with helping other people, because there's too much work to do, and it's not on me. It's not my responsibility to help everyone who comes into my life, and that's the trap I got into. You know, it's just kind of what was bred into me growing up. It wasn't that anybody directly said that that's your role, but there are roles within families where you pick this up. You want to be the valve that stops things from fucking spinning out of control and exploding. And I unconsciously believe that was my role. So as long as I'm not doing that, and I'm living my life and I'm getting something from it, then that's okay. That's in part self-love, but also still connecting others simultaneously. If I believe it's help in the way I understand help to be, then I know that there's that part of me, that valve, that need, that carer. So I know when I'm doing that now. Before I didn't. Before I just thought that was my role in life, you know. But I don't have to wear that role, you know. If I want to help people, it's fine, I'll do it, but as long as I'm in check as to why I'm doing it.
The knowledge that you actually don't have to, but if you want to and you're able to, you can. And that's your own choice to make. It has to be, doesn't it? You can't feel forced or pushed, because then you go back into the place you were, which is just feeling fed up with yourself because you're too busy doing everything else for everyone. So it's like it feeds, doesn't it? And it goes round. If you're not aware of it, you just lose that.
At least you think you do. Do you know what I mean? Because you can that you're actually helping people when you're not. You're actually being annoying. You know what I mean? Like,
it's a good point. Yeah.
You know, it is, and I can laugh about that now, because I thought, well, the way I was younger, be like, imagine if someone come up to me now as a 38-year-old man, and they don't barely know me, they just met me, and they want to help me with my relationship, and they said, be like, the fuck is this guy? Like, what? Like, and he means well, but he's deluded. He doesn't know me. But that I'm sure, I don't know, but I'm sure someone must have felt like that. I don't think about that. There's no point, you know what I mean? And I don't regret helping people. But at the time, it probably wasn't targeted in a very clever way. You know, when people want your help, they'll ask for it, generally. But I laugh about it now, but it's just like, I thought that I was helping people because that was my role. Doesn't mean I was actually getting any work done.
Yeah, exactly. That's something I learned as well in very much the same way, and always trying to people please, because it made me temporarily feel really good about myself as well, which was a completely wrong reason to go and help somebody. And I learned that by somebody saying, you don't need to do this anymore. Like, you don't actually need to be involved. And, you know, I'd rather you just did something else. And it was like, whoa, okay, I'm out of this then. I'll see you later. And it was a hard lesson to learn. It was a hard thing to hear, but I was like, fair enough. You know, harsh lesson to learn, but I've moved on now and feel better for it. Thanks, Jess. Anyway, Jason, I want to pick on you because you've probably got stuff to say, but we've all been talking. You haven't had a chance.
Absolutely fine. No worries. I've just been enjoying, like, sitting back and just listening and, like, being an observer and just listening to what the three of you have had to say. I wanted to start off by saying it's refreshing being back in a virtual room with like-minded people. Koye, I never met you before, but I can feel your energy, and it's nice to be amongst that again. And Chase, it's good to see you again. And being like on a video call in your presence. It's been interesting listening. Koye, I just want to pick up on one thing you mentioned about how does Chase get a balance of that not becoming selfish with that self-love and self-care and doing what he was doing. I've kind of understood it as that's what you meant. I was having a conversation with my wife a couple of weeks ago about that, the balance. When does selfishness become a negative, and when does putting yourself first, when is that a positive? And it kind of came to me straight away, but I'm having to cut tonight short, and I was wondering if we could come back to that like next week or through WhatsApp or whatever, and as a topic, because I think it's an interesting one. Because what, Chase, you were saying, as long as you're doing it with the right intentions, then it remains positive selfishness. Whereas if the intention goes the other way, of it is just purely selfish and no consideration, then maybe that's when it becomes a negative. And it's kind of I think it would be an interesting conversation to hold if people want to come back to it.
Definitely. If you shoot me a message after this, Jason, or when you get a chance tomorrow, just remind me of that, and I can always add it to the group, or we can talk about it next time as well.
But I'm gonna have to shoot off. Mondays are difficult. I'm on driver duty tonight, so we'll catch up soon. But it's nice to meet you, Koye, and good to see you, Chase and Eddie. You guys take care.
Thank you, buddy. Enjoy your evening.
Much love.
See you later. Cool. And there were 3. This is good though, because like obviously, you know, you can have too many people and not enough people, can't you? But it's good. A 3 is an okay number, isn't it? It's good.
2 seconds, because I need to get some water.
It's all right, Koye. I didn't bring any up myself actually. Now I can't go and get any, so I'm gonna have to wait. But I think it's great actually that he's posed that, as like highlighted that question, like that kind of that specific point, because it's so much more important than we think, isn't it? In regards to what you were saying, Chase, like it's we don't even realize, do we? Like you said, you don't realize, or sometimes you don't, other times you do, and you go, do I even want to? Do I care enough about this? Why am I doing it? I don't know why I'm doing it now. And then you find yourself in the middle of something. I mean, this has been my experience. You do find yourself in the middle of whatever it is that we're talking about, and you go, I've been doing this for months now. I don't even like it. Like, why am I doing it? But you got so used to just going, yeah, okay, I'll do it. Yeah, okay, I'll do it. And they're going, oh, you're a great guy. You're so lovely. Thanks for helping. You're like, I don't even want to be here. How ridiculous is that? Like, you're spending all that time in a negative light, just doing things.
You know what the most messed up thing is?
what's expected of me. I've got to do the right thing, do a good thing, you know. It's silly. But anyway, we will come back to that more later, but there's so much more we can explore, isn't there? And I think, sorry, somebody is trying to call me. I thought it might be Jan, but it's not. Also, Jolly apologises for not being here tonight. He was going to be, he's had the worst day apparently, and I asked him if he's okay. He said he'll be fine. He just doesn't want to be here for this for now, so that's okay. So he sends his apologies. But yeah, I think,
okay.
You know, something that I've noticed more and more and more is with all these changes that have been happening, especially like if I'm sick of talking about it now, and so as many other people, but with all the COVID stuff, the changes between restrictions and lockdowns and, you know, relaxing rules and you know, there's a lot of blame put on the government for things, but we're also responsible for our own stuff. And going back to that point of, because you said that as well, Chase, I just recall that you said the same thing, and I was thinking it at the time. We are only responsible for what we do, and if our government's not going to change, if these huge companies, these corporations, and all the people that are damaging the planet or whoever it might be, just making bad choices, I guess in general. Like if we can't change that, or if they're not willing to change, then, you know, are we wasting time arguing about what they have to do when we could just be trying to do better for ourselves, you know? Which is why you see, I mean, it was remarkable that, and you can still see it now. I don't know what it's like where you guys live. I mean, very different places. I know, Chase, and you're in London, Koye, very busy, lots of people. But up here, when COVID, when they initiated that first lockdown, 2020 March, and it was so much change in a short space of time, but people took advantage of that time being at home. And they were like, well, if we can't go out and we can't access this, and they're making this difficult to access as well, like, what we're going to do with our time? And when things like food was an issue and space for like working from home and stuff, people built sheds and greenhouses and grew things, and that's the sort of change that I was specifically referring to. Like, well, from my perspective, it was this beautiful thing that happened where all those things that people talk about doing, I'm going to do this next year, I'm going to do that, my 5-year plan is this. And it's like, I waited 10 years at one point hearing people say, I'm going to do, or my dream is to. And when COVID came and we were all at home, people had opportunities to research.
We got our time back.
Yeah, got the time back, quality time with family, with friends.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I know it's not like that, wasn't like that for everybody, because, you know, things like domestic violence and various other things exist, and they happen all the time. So that caused problems. But in terms of, that could be another conversation, which I think is important. But in terms of changing, like moving forward, changing, picking new things up and laying things to rest, like that was incredible to see. People took charge and said, fuck this. Like, if I'm going to sit at home, if I'm going to be at home, am I just going to sit on my ass watching TV? And that's okay sometimes, but what can you do with this time? And there were sheds, like I said, sheds being built, gardens being, you know, planted, vegetables, fruit, you know, and it's been like that in our area. We've got the advantage of being in the country, don't get me wrong, and there's all that stuff going on anyway. But more people did it. People who just were ignorant to that was going on, you know, around them, now started doing it themselves. And these habits have now, they seem like instilled, like really solidified in people's lives. And yes, there are lots of negative things that people have picked up. But, you know, on the whole, what I can see is people actually started going, God, I'm sick of people pleasing. I'm sick of doing 9 till 5. I'm sick of doing jobs that I hate. I'm sick of whatever. And they went, I'm going to train. I'm going to do online training. I'm going to build this. I'm going to, you know, invest in painting more, decorating, learn how to do DIY. I mean, the list goes on. And I've actually had conversations and seen neighbours do exactly the same thing. And I did the same thing. Built stuff, taught myself how to use pallets to build furniture and
drawing
dog beds and drawing more, painting more, you know, decorating something. And I loved it. You know, I really loved it. yes, there was a mental health crisis going on. I wasn't as aware at the time how bad that was, and as time went on, I realised. But those habits, I've still, I've kept them. The things that I built are here. The things that I've done are tangible. They're real now. The things that I had ideas about.
Testament is real.
Yes, yeah. And you can make things happen. I don't want to sound cheesy and
no, you don't sound cheesy.
Yeah, it's just that when people say that, don't they? Sometimes people will go, "Oh, I'm going to live my dream. I'm gonna achieve that goal," and they go, "Oh yeah, everybody says that. What's your dream? Oh, that's silly. That dream. It's a bit ambitious." And so to see, and this is what I did, and to see other people go, "Actually, guys, fuck you. Just because you don't have a dream that you're chasing or that you're passionate about doesn't mean I'm not going to do it, regardless of what you say." And that's what I've really loved about this journey through COVID. 2 years of hell in some ways, but actually, I always try and look at the positive stuff, the things that shine light and are colourful, and and go, yes, let's have more of that. Why can't we have more of that? People are learning, evolving, growing, and changing their mindset about like what they think about politics, why that's important. Is it important? Oh, look what's happening in that country. How can I help them? Or how can I invest time in learning about their culture, or whatever it is? And that's the positive stuff that I want to see more of personally. And I've tried to do as much of that as possible myself. But, I think, I keep asking myself that question: how do we kind of, cement that in place and firmly for ourselves? But then how do we encourage others to try adopting that same mindset? And I do think that the number one thing, and I've written this about 4 times already, is these conversations. And actually, I know we are open door here, but it literally is about being open and just going, okay, say whatever the hell you want, and we'll actually listen. And that's where change happens, isn't it? It's when you really connect. And I think you were talking a lot about that before, Chase, when you started talking earlier. There was a lot of stuff you were saying about how we really just need to connect properly, but doing things, having conversations that we actually care about, being involved with people that we actually want to learn from or want to inspire us or inspire them. We connect on some level somewhere, and that's beautiful. We just need more of that. And going back to what we were saying at the start about the group shrinking, I think it can be a really good thing. Actually, we can focus in and we can really get into stuff, and hopefully change comes with that. And that's why it was important to have this as a topic tonight, because my own journey, and I know everybody's got their own story, and it's nice to hear these things, but we need to learn what we need to put down as well, things that we're still carrying that we really don't benefit from. And that could be a job, a hobby that you've grown out of, that you're bored of, or whatever. It could be anything, an attitude, or a view of something or a person, and just learning that and is great. It's a good place to start. Conversation is where it's at, obviously. You hear the points of views of others and you go, oh man, that's really spoken to me. It's challenged me. Why though? Why has it triggered a response like that? Why have I reacted instead of thinking of a response? What I don't know what I'm doing. What's going on? So all these things are only good, aren't they? You can just learn from it if you're listening. But that's why I like this, I think, more than anything.
It's wonderful. It's been a wonderful time for growth. I do find it a little bit like I have to have lulls though. There are moments where, I'm busy. I've got kids. I've got a full-time job. But there are moments where there's this silence, and I fall into that silence. But I have to remind myself of just how much growth there's been.
Yeah.
There's been a lot. And not even like active change, not change like I was brave, just like change that was on me, and I am this different person now who's a little bit, I don't know, just maybe a little bit tougher, or sticks up for himself a bit more, but in a way that is good. That's a positive thing. I'm getting hurt less because I'm tougher, not because
Yeah.
not hurting people because I learned to take a punch type of thing. But yeah, there are points where I just sort of like, if there's quiet, fucking enjoy that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Enjoy that for just a bit.
Yeah.
I'm about to teach
I've
myself.
even been in a situation similar. Like, my daughter was home from uni for a while, and our son still lives here, and we were all together suddenly again, and like we just wanted some like alone time, not even for like sex or anything like that. It was just like, gosh, there's so much damn noise. It's just
You go
like
for tell them
it's
to
a
get out.
nice, yeah. So that's the thing, and it, you know, it often is, more often than not, it's a nice vibe, a nice feeling in the house when we're all together. But it was just a particular moment, and you know, I was like, guys, we need to do anything we can to to just have that peace. And I was like, I've got 20 quid cash. I'm not giving them my credit card. Forget that. I was like, go to the cinema, go and do something. Off you go. We kept the dog with us and we had a great time here.
Yeah,
And they came back and they were happier for it. And we were like,
yeah,
thank
mommy
God
and
that
daddy
worked,
needs the
you know,
mommy and
for
daddy
everyone.
time. Like this.
But yeah, taking advantage of it, doing whatever it takes to just have what you need, I guess, and
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
enjoy
And there's
that.
healthy ways to do it as well. Like,
Yeah,
you don't need to hate your kids, but there's you need boundaries between yourselves and your kids.
Oh god,
yeah,
Like
physical boundaries.
yeah, literally
Absolutely.
full-blown, I need a minute or I'm gonna lose my shit at you, and I'm trying to manage these emotions.
yeah.
Just get away from me right now. Like, well,
Not now.
My kids aren't as old as yours, but even Alana, she's 7, and her brother's 3. He doesn't really get it. But her, I have adult conversations with her. Like, even her brother, I said that to him the other day, and he's only 3, and he got it. I was like, all right, cool. You're whinging because you want to sleep in mommy's bed, but mommy's not feeling okay. Like, we're separated, but I went there to help, basically. But and I was like, mommy's not feeling okay, and he's still crying. I'm like, all right, cool. Do you like mommy? Like, yes. Do you see that mommy's not feeling okay? Like, yeah, yes. All right, cool. Mommy needs to sleep and feel better. It would be really nice if you stopped whinging and just went to sleep so she could. Is that something you'd like to do for mommy? It's like, I was like, okay, then please stop crying. And he stopped crying.
Brilliant.
And he went to sleep. And I don't know what happened to me in these past 3 years, but I think I read a lot more. I read more books in the past 3 years than I read in the past decade. Like, because I woke up, I found God. I was like, hey, cool, you are terribly programmed, so you have love in you, always had love in me. They love and respect, and for something around me just made me okay. I think I've always wanted to like people. I've always loved people, human beings. I've always I've always hated the fact that I didn't know what was going on in somebody else's head. Like, I didn't like the fact that I didn't know something. Like, so if I thought you looked at me weirdly, Chase, for instance, I'll just ask you, like, why did you look at me that way? Like,
what's your problem?
And then like, is it, no, I wouldn't even say, what's your problem, because that can lead to them, by default, they're defensive, right? So I'm supposed to be like, oh, are we okay? Are we cool?
Yeah.
Like, and they were like, yeah, we are. And I've always managed to navigate the world that way, so I never really got in trouble or whatever. But in the past few years, I understood those principles even deeper, and I understood that I don't need to shout at this 7-year-old. She's dealing with her emotions, and I am 36, and I had a full-blown tantrum with my mum the other day. I was jumping and crying and everything at my big age. So why do I expect the 7-year-old to have mastered her emotions? Like, all right, so just talk to her. Talk to her the same way you'd want someone to speak to you if you were having a bad day or bad moment, or if you were irritated. And yes, I get it. She doesn't understand it. So you're going to have to repeat yourself 17 times. But how many times did it take you to learn how to do relationships? You haven't mastered relationships, so calm down. You haven't mastered your career, So calm down. You weren't the greatest student. You're very smart, but you didn't come home with A's, buddy. You know, you wanted to just have fun and fuck around as well. So why do you think the 7-year-old doesn't just want to sit in front of TV all day?
Yeah.
And when I don't even know, like if you were talk, I'm trying to bring it back to my growth in the pandemic.
Yeah.
It was quiet. I had my time and it was quiet. And when it was quiet, I heard my thoughts. And when I heard my thoughts, I heard God. When I heard God, I thought, all right, cool. Who the hell am I? Who the hell am I? I'm not these thoughts. These thoughts are just thoughts. They are not me. So, oh shit, this life is something I created. I don't like this part of it. I don't like that part of it. Oh my God, that is a travesty. like, yeah, that part is a mess. But you can change it.
Yeah.
I can change it. Like you're an art, bro. I love your art. You know what I mean? Like I found things that I wanted to pursue that I believe were purpose for me. And the first part of the process was figuring out the purpose. But once I figured out the purpose, I started, all right, cool. This is who you are. You're loving, you're kind, you're open, you're honest, you're transparent. All these traits are things that you need to work on to get to an excellent level. There's no such thing as perfection, if you will.
Yeah.
And then another thing I learned was even those concepts, you cannot be as attached to them as, like, you can never be perfect. Like even the bad side of you is a part of you, the good side of you is a part of you. It's the yin and yang. You have to love all of it. And you have to surround yourself with people that love all of it. So even in your anger, they still love you. They will tell you, dude, you need to work on your anger, but I can do that from you from a place of love. There's still a boundary here. Don't be acting out with me. Don't be taking your shit out of me. But I love you enough to be here to help you through it, kind of thing. And I'm priding myself in being that type of friend to people. And it's beautiful because I think when you're that transparent with people, unless they're really tapped mentally, and even that is not a judgment on them, they've just been through things that have just really fractured. Do you know they
can't see?
Yeah, they can't see. They
Yeah.
just can't see. So even that, I don't even judge them for it. But most of us, when you're that transparent with someone, they open up and they tell you their truth, and you see that, yo, we're just human beings, and this is a human experience, and this is adulting is hard. Being a parent is hard. Dealing with your insecurities is hard. Dealing with your anxiety is hard. Depression can just come in every now and again. Like if it's so, it's hard, but it's beautiful. Life is beautiful to me. I appreciate every breath I take. I appreciate every day I see. I'm so grateful to God for it. And I don't force my spirituality on everybody. I don't force Jesus on everybody, but I lost 2 friends in the pandemic. One of the guys, he wasn't a friend, but he played football with us. I saw him Sunday, he died on Monday. 33. Like, that concept to me is just like, that really puts life in perspective. So I appreciate everything, everyone, and I might not be the best at listening sometimes, or I might not, jump in the group and talk as much as I should, because I'm in my place of solitude and working on just being. I'm enjoying myself. I make myself laugh, and in between that, I'm still dealing with the parts of me that are scared to be alone.
Yeah,
because I am still scared of being alone. I've never actually still lived alone. I just moved back to my mum's instead of living with my brother. There's a part of my progress where when I get my own place, I will be alone all the time, and I need to not date serially, or I need to keep myself to myself and enjoy that that loneliness, that those moments where you have paranoid thoughts, possibly, or you get what I mean, and just I speak that you already know I do this, Eddie. I speak it out. Anything any thought that I have that is negative towards myself now. No, you're not fat. You're actually beautiful. Go and look in the mirror. You're gorgeous. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, cool. These debts, they're just debts. No one has ever died from debts ever in the history of mankind. Has anyone ever died from debts? You need to manage them. That's it. All right. How are you going to make more money?
Yeah.
How do the wealthy people make more money? They invest. Okay, how do I taught myself how to invest. I taught myself how to, what kind of body do you want? Train that way, eat that way. What kind of person do you want to be? Study, read a book, audio book, just what kind of people do you like? Go and find them. There's a whole, you don't have to wait to meet people in pubs or church. There's a whole social media something. I spoke to a guy from Denmark the other day, to some guys from India. Never met them before in my life. And we just have this fun passion regarding being decent human beings, and we like the digital technological changes in NFTs and cryptocurrency and so on. So find them. And in there's people talking about football as well. Like, what do you like to talk about? Find people that are like-minded, that don't think raping women is cool, or don't think punching people up is cool, or don't thinking robbing people, murdering. Find cool people like you. And I'm beginning to believe more and more that there's way more of us than there's of your souls. And I don't judge them. They just hurting. Somebody somewhere did something to them, and they just can't see. They're blind. They're in the prison of the society. Is that what you said? They're in the prison. They're in jail, bro. They're not happy.
Yeah, to a degree, yeah. How would that make anyone feel, whether they believe they're a good or a bad person? We've all been in jail, essentially, in a social sense. That would, to a good person, that would mess you up. So, I just look at that now. I used to get on a train and feel intimidated by people just being drunk and having a good. Now I'm kind of like, well, you've had a shit year like I have, so you're just rip and having some fun. As long as you don't fuck with me, I've got no problem with you. But,
enjoy.
Yeah, enjoy. Have some fun. Just don't eat the chairs, mess up the train. I don't mind what you do.
Just don't throw up on me. That's it. You don't throw up on me.
Don't fuck with me. No,
have a good night, man. Have some water.
I think that looks good. That looks good. I do like those as well. I don't really drink much though, as you probably both know by now. I don't really. I do occasionally, but tonight's water. I mean water. Which I think this is a great place to stop, because we've kind of, we haven't ended up going full circle and going over stuff too much. Like I felt like we progressed through where I kind of started off the conversation, and like we've actually got to a really healthy but very big part of the conversation that's by no means ended. And I think, but having this place that you guys have just been discussing, this whole, who am I, and taking those opportunities to learn about yourself and all that stuff, and just accepting, I guess, that where every human being is the same, in that we bleed, we are born, we die, we bleed in between that, and like it's that simple. And when we connect, if we're just aware of each other and actually remind ourselves that we are all the same, we can work the other shit out, can't we? And we can build healthy connections. And I think that's a beautiful view and a beautiful goal to have in mind. Like eyes on the prize, for me, it's kind of reminding myself that that is very much the biggest truth that we can all be aware of, is that we all human, we all bleed, we're all going to die someday. So let's just not fuck about with all this bullshit in between, and be kind and enjoy stuff, connect on positive things, and you know, make change, good change. And I think that's all we can hope for, really, you know, ultimately. But there's so much fun and things to learn in between that people might not link to that, but you know, we'll explore that hopefully next time. I kind of think we do need a part 2 on this in a fortnight, and maybe finish off, well, not finish off, but just kind of round it off a little bit, and you know, dig into it a bit more, because it's been nice actually doing this, and it's very broad, isn't it? It's a very big topic to cover. So yeah, we'll dig into that next time if you guys are available, and if not, we can have some fresh perspective and from others, and it'll be good. Hopefully Jan's okay. I'm going to call him later and see. But
checking China as well.
I'm sure it's just that his day's been mental and he just had to cut off, and that'll be it, I think. But I'll check in on him in a bit. And if you get hold of him first, shoot me a message, Koye, and let me know he's all right. But thank you, guys.
No worries. My little girl's coughing up the storm upstairs, so I probably better go.
Oh, okay. Oh no. All right.
Nothing serious?
No, she's fine. It's always when she goes to bed, she just
okay.
But
my son had that for a long time. He grew out of it, so hopefully it won't last long.
Yeah. She's okay. They've always had that coughing, but it's that's all they get generally. So that you know, I can.
That's really good then.
Yeah, that'll do. I'll take that.
Yes, it's a win. Definitely. So yeah, thank you again. I've recorded this, but I don't know what Jan's been doing with any of the Zoom recordings. But I'll leave that to him. I'll send it to him and see what he wants to do. But thank you.
Do whatever you want to do. I'll apply makeup next time, so look at the edges.
It's really good to see you both. And yeah, I'm always